Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got something really unprecedented on our hands, a stack of sources. Basically, a manuscript that's just so wild, so sprawling.
Yeah, sprawling is definitely the word for it, and deliberately so, I think. It's called The Haunted Huffy.
Right, and we're calling this less a deep dive, maybe more like a controlled descent into
Yeah.
this glorious madness of, like, American literature, pure absurdity, and some really strange time travel stuff.
Exactly. And the request we got with this material was specifically to slow walk it, which is good advice because honestly, you could get lost in the chaos pretty fast.
For sure. So our mission here is to kind of carefully pull apart the main threads. Look at the comedy, which is often pretty lowbrow.
Oh, definitely. But then there's this layer of existential absurdity, and underneath that, surprisingly, some deep philosophical questions bubble up. We want to extract those core ideas for you.
So you get that shortcut to being, really informed about what this whole crazy text is trying to do.
Because it's more than just a story, right? It's very self-aware. It's playing with ideas of authorship, character agency, asking that big question. Are we just characters in a novel someone else wrote?
Or can we actually grab the pen? It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And the anchor for all this reality-bending weirdness, it's incredibly mundane.
Hilariously so. The central artifact, the thing that kicks it all off, is a rusty, purple-flecked 1998 Huffy bicycle.
A Huffy. Not exactly a DeLorean.
Not at all. And the text is very clear. This bike isn't just transport, it's the artifact of temporal mischief. It's both a curse and a gift for the narrator, Proctor. It ensures his life won't be quiet or predictable.
Okay, so let's talk about how this Huffy even enters the picture, because its arrival is dramatic and completely impossible.
Right, you have to go back to 1915 Arkansas. Picture
Right.
this. Deep, dark night, the kind where sound just vanishes, and then suddenly this impossible noise breaks the silence.
What kind of noise?
It's described as this grinding bass, a really heavy Gothic dirge. It's specifically typo-negative song Black Number 1, playing incredibly loud.
Wait, typo negative? In 1915, that's what, 50, 60 years before they even existed?
Exactly, pure sonic paradox.
Mm.
And it's coming from a Model T delivery car that looks, and the source says this, like a motorized hearse, just rumbling down this dirt road.
A motorized hearse blasting goth metal from the future to deliver a bicycle.
Okay.
I'm strapped in.
So this car delivers the Huffy, which already has this impossible layer of rust, mind you, to the house where the narrator, Proctor, is just 1 year old, probably stirring in his crib because of the noise.
And they just leave it.
Just lean it against the porch rail. And that's the moment. That's the fork in the road for Proctor's timeline. The Huffy showing up is the first ripple, the guarantee that this Proctor is the one whose life becomes this methy, chaotic narrative we're reading.
Not the Proctor who might have lived quietly and died peacefully.
Precisely. The Huffy is that first totally random injection of chaos. The cursing gift.
Okay, so that sets the stage.
Yeah.
Proctor grows up.
Yeah.
And eventually, he hits this point of, what's it called? A philosophical crisis.
Yeah, he becomes convinced his life isn't his own, that he's basically a character in a novel he never agreed to be in, which, given the opening scene, you can kind of see his point.
You really can. And when he hits this crisis, the Huffy acts like a beacon, right? The summons.
It does. It calls in the cavalry, or maybe the asylum inmates. We meet the core crew, these ghosts of stories, who are just the perfect embodiment of high literature meets total anarchy.
First up, William Faulkner.
But not the William Faulkner you picture, the Nobel laureate-looking star. No, this is Bill.
Bill.
Insists on it, and he's described as a big old wild bear. Huge tweed jacket maybe, but completely untamed. And his eyes, they apparently glow with this mix of red and green.
Red and green eyes, okay. Powered by.
Whiskey, gallons of it. And what the narrator calls, very politely, epic dumb decisions.
Sounds about right. Who else joins the party?
Shelby Foote, the Civil War historian. You'd expect him to be the calm, strategic counterpoint, right?
You would. Gravitas, maybe some tactical planning.
Nope. He's described as equally unhinged. He sees everything through a tactical lens. Like every mundane event is a potential flanking maneuver or a strategic retreat. His obsession with order just makes Faulkner's chaos even funnier.
So you've got the wild bear and the unhinged strategist. Who witnesses their arrival?
There's this spectral observer figure, Uncle Ernest opines, and his description just nails the tone of the whole book. He sees Faulkner and Foote appear and thinks they look like two professors who'd taken a wrong turn at the dawn of creation.
That's perfect. Scholarly, Southern, and completely surreal.
Exactly. It tells you everything you need to know.
Okay, the stage is definitely set. Let's dive into the first major act here, which seems like pure, glorious chaos. Part 1. The Gospel of Lawless Southern Mischief.
And it kicks off immediately with what the text calls the whiskey gospel. Literally their first order of business upon arriving wherever and whenever they are exactly at this point.
Faulkner needs a drink.
Needs isn't strong enough. It's an existential demand. He's standing there, probably sweating in his tweed in the Arkansas heat, and declares he needs some mother-loving rum now.
And the narrator, Proctor, tries to be the voice of reason.
Tries. Points out, Bill, it's Sunday, and this is the dry South.
And Faulkner's response.
Pure gold. Just waves a hand dismissively, probably slurring a bit, and says, boy, the laws of God and man are suggestions at best, especially in this county.
Wow. Okay, so that's the operating principle right there. Constraints are optional.
Pretty much. That line becomes the de facto motto for this whole section of the narrative. If you don't acknowledge the rules, they don't really apply.
So this leads them on a quest for illegal rum.
Naturally, Faulkner utters the immortal words, I know a guy, which, as you can imagine, leads them down increasingly sketchy roads.
Losing pavement along the way, I bet.
Oh, yeah. They end up at this bootlegger's place. The description's great. The yard isn't fortified with defenses, it's fortified with neglect. Just briar patches and old, rusty farm equipment everywhere.
Sounds picturesque. And this is where we get that infamous scene. Chapter 4. The Historian's Humiliation.
This is it. Shelby Foote, the man who documented the intricate strategies of Vicksburg and Gettysburg, is riding shotgun in the Model T. And he's deep in thought.
Contemplating the strategic implications of the bootlegger's junk pile, no doubt.
You joke, but that's exactly what he's doing. He's analyzing the placement of the briars, wondering if it's intentional passive-aggressive fortification. He's completely lost in tactical analysis.
Okay, classic Foote. But where does the humiliation come in?
Well, the irony is just chef's kiss. While he's meticulously analyzing the external defensive strategy of the bootlegger's shack, he completely fails to manage his internal situation.
Oh.
Yeah, he lost a significant battle with his own bladder. Soaks his expensive tweed trousers right there in the truck.
Oh, Shelby, the esteemed historian taken down by basic biology while plotting imaginary skirmishes.
It's the perfect juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah.
High intellect, base bodily function. Proctor, the narrator, is mortified, obviously. The smell, the indignity.
But Faulkner.
Faulkner returns, jug of rum in hand, takes one sniff of the air inside the Model T, looks over at the profoundly damp Shelby Foote, and just declares, smells like victory.
That sums up this whole endeavor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Victory is messy and smells bad.
And rarely follows the rules of engagement. That line is practically the thesis statement for the first part of this manuscript. But, you know, whiskey's just the appetizer.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Where do they go next for transcendence?
Hallucinogens, naturally. We get the mushroom and banjo insurgency.
Okay, tell me about this.
They're on some family property. Faulkner's still buzzing from the rum. And he spots these little mushrooms near an oak tree. Shimmering blue fungi.
Blue. That sounds potent.
Proctor thinks so too. Warns him, Bill, those are the blue ones, man. Like the specific ones you don't mess with.
And Faulkner, being Faulkner,
Completely unfazed, starts, and I quote, eating mushrooms like they were going out of style. Just handfuls.
okay, and his profound spiritual reason for ingesting powerful psychedelics.
Get ready for it. These things here, they keep me regular.
Oh my God. Of course. Cosmic insights tied directly to bowel movements. The absurdity is just relentless.
Isn't it great? The highest highs brought down to the most mundane lows. So the red and green eyes start pulsing, you know he's feeling it, and he decides it's time for an education of the locals.
Education involving.
A banjo, which the narrator calls a clinky contraption. Faulkner tries to lecture some farmhands about the deep roots of Southern folk music.
How does that go over?
About as well as you'd expect. You've got this tripping literary giant trying to impose his historical, slightly condescending view of culture on people living it. They just watch him, totally unimpressed.
What a kill.
Until one young farmhand has had enough, steps forward, doesn't argue, just takes the banjo and cracks it right over Faulkner's head. Swift, decisive.
Ow, what is justification?
Perfect modern counterpoint. He just says something like, told you I don't like that thing. If I'm making music, I'm using an 808, man.
An 808. The drum machine.
Yeah.
Huh? The modern world literally knocks the old master out. That's a fantastic clash.
Isn't it? It's culture clash, time clash, aesthetic clash, all ending with a broken banjo and probably a mild concussion. The 808 wins.
Faulkner must have been stunned.
Briefly. But the night, fueled by rum and now potent fungi, is far from over. This all builds to the absolute peak of absurdity in this section.
Let me guess. The red and green demon of flatulence.
That's the one. The apotheosis. They're trying to get back into the Model T, maybe at a deer camp, and someone lets loose. I mean, a truly world-class, undeniable fart. The air becomes thick, toxic.
They've all been there, but Faulkner.
Faulkner, deep in his mushroom journey, doesn't just smell the noxious stench, he sees it.
He sees the fart.
As a literal entity, he starts pointing, trembling, eyes probably blazing red and green, shrieking about a red and green demon of flatulence materializing in the car.
Yeah.
With mocking eyes, apparently.
This is brilliant, taking the most base, embarrassing human moment and turning it into demonic manifestation through subjected experience.
That's the core mechanism, right? Reality is the story you tell about it. If Faulkner's mushroom-addled brain perceives a fart demon, then for the purposes of this narrative, there is a fart demon.
So he's terrified.
Convinced the driver is deliberately summoning these monsters. So terrified, he does the only logical thing.
Which is?
He bails out of the moving Model T, just launches himself headfirst into the woods to escape the gaseous fiend.
Oh my God, and they find him.
Eventually, Proctor tracks him down, and the scene is just perfect. Faulkner is knee-deep in a creek, soaked, bleeding, battered.
Doing what?
Violently wrestling a large carp.
Wrestling a fish, why?
Because, he insists, the fish isn't just a fish, it's a cursed carp, a foot soldier of the flatulent demon, and he's interrogating it, demanding to know the demon's battle plans.
He's waterboarding a fish for fart intelligence. I have no words.
It's peak absurdity, elevating a drunk guy fighting aquatic life into this grand existential battle against demonic digestion. If a fart can be fate, anything can.
Okay, wow. That definitely establishes the comedy and absurdity. So where does the narrative go from here? Does it get weirder?
Oh, absolutely. The chaos just escalates and gets more cosmically complicated. This brings us smoothly into part 2, the cosmic complications and narrative revisions. The mischief goes from local to, state-level incidents.
Starting with the Eudora catfish insurgency.
Yeah.
Sounds promising.
It delivers. They end up in a famous catfish joint in Eudora, Arkansas. And almost immediately, people recognize Shelby Foote.
The historian gets recognized.
Yeah, he's kind of a local hero, apparently.
Yeah.
So he starts holding court, waxing eloquent about the battle strategies at Shiloh, basking in the admiration.
And Faulkner's reaction to Foote stealing the spotlight.
Pure, unfiltered existential jealousy. Here's the Nobel Prize winner, author of As I Lay Dying, being totally ignored while the historian gets all the attention.
This can't end well.
It does not. In a fit of pique, Faulkner grabs his entire plate of fried catfish and hush puppies, hoists it dramatically, and hurls it across the restaurant, bellowing something like, "Silence! Your eloquence is offensive!"
He threw his dinner because Foote was talking too well.
Pretty much. And that naturally ignites an all-out food fight of biblical proportions. We're talking flying fish, coleslaw used as mortar, ketchup projectiles. The works.
How bad did it get?
Bad enough that the sources say it required the intervention of the state police and the Arkansas Bureau of Investigation to quell the riot. A catfish-fueled melee that brought in the big guns.
Incredible. How did they escape that?
Pure tactical genius from Foote, ironically. Amidst the chaos, he realizes they need a diversion. A big one.
So what does he do?
Climbs onto a table or podium, silences the room for a second, and yells, "I'll tell you where I hid everything. It's nearby. Follow me."
Hid what?
Exactly, nobody knows. But the idea of hidden treasure, some secret loot, it's irresistible.
So the crowd.
Buys it completely. The source says the entire population of Eudora, instantly forgetting the food fight, stampedes out of the restaurant and down the highway, searching for this phantom treasure. The description even mentions bicycles, plural, joining the mad rush.
A mass exodus, triggered by a historian's lie about buried treasure. That allowed them to slip away.
Perfectly. While everyone else is chasing imaginary gold, the crew just walks out the back. It's Foote, the man obsessed with historical fact, using pure fiction as a brilliant strategic maneuver.
That contrast is key, isn't it? And does this lead into why they're actually time traveling? Because it clearly isn't for quiet contemplation.
Not even close. We get this wonderful reveal about the true purpose of time travel. They haven't been popping into the future for decades to, study societal change or witness historical events.
Okay, so why have they been coming forward?
Two very specific, very modern things. First, Faulkner is utterly obsessed with gas station fried chicken.
Gas station chicken.
He has apparently designated it God's own poultry. It's a primary motivator for his temporal journeys.
Wow. Okay. What's the second thing?
Modern rap music, specifically shrap music with heavy bass.
You're kidding.
Not at all. That 1915 Model T hearse, it's been upgraded. It now has a monstrous sound system. The text mentions some 15s in the back, giant subwoofers,
In a Model T blasted.
Egos, Lil Baby, that kind of thing. The car practically shakes apart, but Faulkner, the high priest of Southern Gothic, is utterly convinced he is, and I quote, saving literature through bass.
Saving literature through bass. I love it. The fusion of high art and low frequencies in an antique car.
It's the perfect encapsulation of their whole vibe. And it's this commitment to loud, anachronistic music that triggers the next major event.
The Atlanta Detour.
Exactly. They're cruising along, maybe over the Mississippi River Bridge, bass thumping, and suddenly, poof, they dissolve and rematerialize smack dab in the middle of a packed, throbbing Atlanta nightclub.
Just dropped into a club.
Mid-beat. And this is where they meet Sunshine.
Okay. Who or what is Sunshine?
The description is intense. She's called a celestial scholar, a storm with a thesis, and my personal favorite, part demigoddess, part academic weapon.
A demigoddess academic weapon. What is she doing in the club?
You're not going to believe this. She is apparently defending her PhD dissertation on stage.
Defending her PhD in the club. On what topic?
Twerk physics?
Twerk? Physics. Okay. This manuscript just keeps delivering.
We just have to accept it as fact within this universe. A celestial scholar analyzing the physics of twerking for her doctorate in a nightclub.
And Faulkner's reaction?
He is utterly smitten, instantly captivated. The combination of divine energy, academic rigor, and high-energy bands is apparently his kryptonite.
Does Proctor try to warn him?
Oh, yeah. He apparently recognizes sunshine-level danger, which is a great phrase, and tries to hold Faulkner back.
But Bill listens.
Of course not. He performs what the text calls an unsanctioned act of narrative fraternization. Basically, he and Sunshine just vanish together in the flicker between two bass drops.
He just runs off with the twerk physics demigoddess. That sounds like it might cause problems.
Cosmic-level problems. That's apparently the line the narrative couldn't handle. An unsanctioned romantic subplot with a celestial being. Too much deviation.
So what happens?
The music dies, the lights flicker out, the club goes silent, and then this voice booms from everywhere and nowhere, the sound of a very irate God.
God gets involved. What does he say?
The verdict is swift and clear. Enough. Your sideline adventures have become a narrative liability. It's time for a mandatory revision.
A narrative liability. That's fascinating phrasing. Like, the characters have gotten too out of control for the author's plan.
Precisely. They've generated too much unscripted chaos. So the consequence is these punitive timeline jumps. The author, or God, or whatever force is in charge, tries to force them back on track through corrective temporal displacement.
Punishment via time travel. Okay, where's the first stop on the punishment tour?
October 1982, the Betty Ford Center.
Rehab for Faulkner and Foote.
Not just any rehab. This one seems specifically designed to torture them. For these legendary drinkers, the mandatory treatment isn't about quitting alcohol. It's a weed cleanse.
A weed cleanse.
They are required, by the facility rules in this timeline, to consume 1 ounce of the highest grade local weed every day for 30 days.
An ounce. A day. That's a lot.
It's an insane amount. And for Faulkner, it's pure agony. He's described as suffering like a celebrity stoner, forced to choke down his daily dose of critical kush, a potent sativa strain known for its heady effects, when all he desperately wants is a warm bourbon.
The horror. Forced relaxation and unwanted clarity.
Exactly. It's the precise opposite of his usual coping mechanism. Meanwhile, Shelby Foote handles rehab differently.
How so? Tactical analysis of the group therapy sessions.
Even better, he becomes the Southern fried Houdini. He's constantly plotting escapes. The text calls him the Scooby-Doo of escape rooms, apparently yelling, "Roo-row," before leading these increasingly bizarre breakout attempts.
Who does he break out with?
Get this, the house cat and dazed Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood was in rehab with them. And a cat.
Apparently, Eastwood seems perpetually confused, like he's wandered off a movie set. Foote just keeps incorporating them into his escape plans.
This is amazing. Did their rehab stint attract any attention?
Oh, only a National Enquirer headline that apparently caused ripples all the way to a potential congressional hearing.
What does the headline say?
Real life Faulkner in rehab. Drunk on whiskey, high on sativa, talks to Elvis's ghost.
Perfect. So the attempt to constrain them just made them more
What?
legendary and chaotic.
Exactly. The mandatory revision failed spectacularly. So the author tries again. Next stop, Area 51.
Ah, the classic secret base aliens, flying saucers.
Sort of, but this version of Area 51 is less high-tech conspiracy and more cosmic community college.
Cosmic Community College, what does that mean?
Think less sleek government facility, more rundown campus building. It's populated by aliens, sure, but they have mullets and smoke cigarettes. The supercomputers exist, but they're flashing TikTok memes. There's this smell of ozone mixed with government-issued weed, high-tech, low-culture, bureaucratic aliens.
Aliens with mullets and TikTok. Got it. Any romantic subplots this time?
Oh, yes. Shelby Foote, the dignified historian, falls head over heels for an alien named Glurb.
Glurb.
Glurb, described as a lavender-skinned being. And the best part, Glurb communicates exclusively through the lyrics of 1980s country music.
You're kidding. He's trying to have a relationship with someone who only speaks Randy Travis.
Or Kenny Rogers, maybe Dolly Parton. Imagine trying to discuss the flanking maneuvers at Chancellorsville with that conversational partner. Pure linguistic chaos.
That's incredible. And what's Buddy Portis doing during all this? The quiet chronicler.
Ah, Portis. He suddenly appears, takes charge, and does the most Portis thing imaginable. He institutes bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy in Area 51.
His very first official act is to mandate a ritual shave for every single being on the base.
A shave. For aliens.
Including, and the source makes a point of this, that weird pulsating tentacle on Gary from Zeta Reticuli.
He wants to shave Gary's tentacle.
Mandatory grooming standards for intergalactic beings. It's the ultimate imposition of arbitrary, mundane order onto cosmic weirdness.
It really feels like the author, or God, is just throwing increasingly bizarre constraints at them, trying to regain control.
That's exactly the dynamic. It's this constant push and pull between the controlling force trying to impose a narrative and the characters just refusing to cooperate, generating more chaos instead.
And that tension, that's the philosophical core, right? Which brings us to part 3. This is where things get less about the jokes and more about the big questions.
Precisely. We move from the purely absurd to the absurd as a way of exploring meaning, or the lack thereof, and the next directive they receive, it comes from an unexpected source.
Whoa.
Elvis Presley. His ghost, specifically.
Elvis's ghost. Where is he?
Broadcasting from a derelict satellite orbiting Earth. His voice comes through laced with static, like an old radio transmission. It's called a sermon from the satellite.
A sermon from Ghost Elvis in space.
What's his message? Is it about blue suede shoes?
Surprisingly, no. It's about narrative purity in a weird way. He tells them the music, and by extension, their story has gotten too clean, too polished, too safe.
Too clean.
Yeah. And his final command is incredibly evocative. Find the crossroads where the devil lost his tune.
Wow. Like find the original source of the blues, the grit, the danger in authentic expression.
That's how it reads. A quest for the rough edges, for the soul of the story that's maybe been lost in all the cosmic shenanigans.
So they head towards Clarksdale, Mississippi, the heart of the Delta Blues.
They start to. But the journey gets interrupted by something sobering. A genuine moment of gravity intrudes on the chaos.
What happens?
Faulkner and Foote just freeze mid-sentence. They receive some kind of silent temporal notification, news from another timeline.
News about what? My proctor, the narrator, but from a different reality strand, has died.
The other proctor. The one who didn't get the haunted Huffy.
That seems to be the implication. And they're compelled, somehow, to return to the 1940s to attend his funeral.
Why this specific event? Why pull them out of their quest for this?
Because I think the narrative needs to force them, especially Faulkner, to confront the very thing he's always running from with booze and chaos. The void, meaninglessness, mortality.
So how does Faulkner react?
In a truly shocking moment, he pours out his whiskey, rejects the numbness, and instead he consumes something called stargazer's moss. Mushrooms.
More mushrooms. Are these like the blue ones?
Different. These are described as hallucinogens that don't make you see things that aren't there, but make you see things as they truly are. Brutal, unvarnished truth mushrooms.
Oh, wow. What does that lead to?
The philosophical climax of the whole manuscript. Faulkner, clear-eyed and tripping on cosmic truth, delivers this eulogy for the other proctor.
What does he say?
He talks about the silent black universe, calls it an endless, starless inkwell of nothingness. It's bleak.
Sounds it. Is there any hope in it?
Only in defiance. He essentially preaches that their chaos, all the drinking, fighting, absurdity, the whole messy story they're living, that is their sacred duty. It's the only way to fight back against the void, to splash some color onto the blackness. Their purpose isn't finding meaning, it's making noise against the silence.
Wow, that reframes everything.
Yeah.
And does this address Proctor's original crisis?
Right.
Why his life went so off the rails?
Directly. Faulkner explains the concept of the multiverse block universe, the idea that all timelines exist simultaneously like frames on a film reel.
Okay,
So the Proctor they're mourning, he was the control group, the version who didn't get the Huffy, didn't meet the ghosts, lived a quiet, normal life, and died peacefully in his sleep.
and the realization is,
Devastating. They aren't mourning his death, they're mourning his peace. They are the timeline of chaos, the story, the noise, and they realize, maybe for the first time, that this chaotic existence, this curse, might actually be the thing shielding them from utter meaninglessness. Peace was the road not taken, and maybe that's okay.
that is heavy, really deep. How do they even process that?
Well, this being this narrative, they immediately need to translate that profound, depressing cosmic insight back into something absurd. Which leads to the Huffy's grand theory.
How does that work?
Faulkner decides the concepts are too grand and too depressing on their own. They need audiovisual aids.
Audiovisual aids for multiverse theory and existential dread. What does he use?
He makes Proctor and Sunshine binge-watch the TV show Dead Like Me
The show about the Grim Reapers. Why that?
because it depicts the afterlife and supernatural forces as a kind of petty, bored, soul-crushing bureaucracy. Faulkner thinks it's the perfect training film for understanding supernatural bureaucracy.
Okay. And how does this connect to the Huffy?
There's a specific, infamous moment in the show where a character is killed completely randomly by a toilet seat falling from the deorbiting Mir space station.
Right. The ultimate absurd arbitrary death.
Exactly. And Shelby Foote, the historian watching this, has the epiphany. He connects the dots.
What does he realize?
He yells out, "The Huffy, it's our flying toilet lid."
The Huffy is the toilet seat.
Metaphorically, yes. It's this mundane, unexpected object falling out of nowhere, an agent of chaos falling from the heavens that completely rewrites a life, knocking it off its predictable course. The cursed bike is the cosmic joke, the arbitrary intervention that saved them from peaceful obscurity.
So the chaos isn't random, it's arbitrary, but it's imposed by the author.
Bingo. And that realization that there's an external force pulling the strings, however haphazardly, leads directly to the next big shock. The Chronicler's Paradox.
This involves Buddy Portis again, the quiet one.
Yeah, Buddy Charles Portis. He's been diligently taking notes, documenting everything in his notepad, and suddenly the notepad starts writing by itself.
Writing what?
Not in his handwriting, in this cold, impersonal typeset font, like a printed page.
Okay, creepy. What does it say?
This is the moment of pure philosophical horror for them. The text reads, "You are on page 20. Only 243 more pages to go. Total. 263.
Oh, my God. The page count. They're literally trapped in the manuscript.
Exactly. The silent black universe isn't just vast and indifferent. It has a specific arbitrary length, 263 pages. They are characters confined within a predetermined 263-page cage written by a fallible, mortal author.
How do they react to that? Despair. Existential collapse.
You'd think so, right? But Faulkner's reaction is pure, unadulterated artistic fury.
Artistic fury, not existential.
Oh, it's existential too, but his primary outrage isn't about being trapped. It's about the quality of the trap. He starts ranting that the structure is pedestrian. The pacing is prone to rambling exposition.
He's critiquing the book he's trapped inside.
Yes. He calls the author a hack and declares this changes everything. They are no longer just characters enduring chaos. They are now a union of disgruntled characters.
A union. What are their demands?
They must find the author, this K. Brad Barfield, and demand a rewrite.
They want to unionize and force editorial changes on their own reality. That is magnificent.
Isn't it? The shift from confronting the void to confronting the page count, the specific arbitrary constraint, is what triggers the revolution. It makes the problem tangible, actionable.
It grounds the huge philosophical crisis in something they can actually fight, which sets up the final act perfectly.
Exactly. Part 4. Narrative independence and the final edit. The hunt is on. Not for God, but as Portis puts it, we're not hunting a god, we're hunting a man with a filing system.
They're hunting the author. Where does the hunt lead them?
Predictably, perhaps, to the University of Arkansas Special Collections Library archives. Where else would an author's notes be?
Makes sense. Do they find the files easily?
Ah, well, here's where cosmic revolution meets mundane reality. They are stopped at the threshold by the stern archivist, Miss Genevieve.
What's the problem? Doesn't she recognize the literary giants?
Oh, she recognizes them, and she promptly revokes Faulkner's library privileges due to unpaid fines totaling $4,380.
$4,000 in library fines.
How? Decades of overdue books, probably used as coasters for whiskey glasses? And Shelby Foote, banned for 3 overdue volumes of Lee's Lieutenants.
So the Great Rebellion is halted by library fines. That's brutal.
The ultimate mundane obstacle. But then comes the chronicler's key. Buddy Portis steps forward.
And reveals himself.
Reveals himself as Charles Portis, author of True Grit. Miss Genevieve, the archivist, is instantly starstruck, a real literary figure she admires.
So his reputation gets them in.
Immediately. The archives are open, she declares. His literary status trumps Faulkner's fines. They get access to Barfield's field notes.
Okay, so now they get to see the author's mind, the grand design.
Well, they open these leather-bound notebooks expecting profound secrets, the architecture of the reality. Instead, it's basically a scrapbook. Random notes, receipts, doodles, and the messy first draft of their lives.
And this is where the demotion happens. The gospel, according to the first draft.
This is where every moment of perceived significance gets brutally undercut. Remember Faulkner's relentless quest for God's own poultry?
The gas station chicken.
Turns out the profound insight behind that was just a crumpled receipt for an 8-piece meal deal found in Barfield's note.
Oh no, what about the fart monster? The red and green demon he wrestled the carp over.
Reduced to a literal bar napkin scribble, it just reads, "Fart monster, red and green, he sees it, doesn't smell it, a half-drunk throwaway idea."
The existential horror was a doodle. What about the mushrooms? The ones that kept him regular?
Based on a note that just said, "Keeps me regular." Probably a joke Barfield made about indigestion after eating the aforementioned chicken.
So their entire cosmic, terrifying, profound journey, it's all just based on random, trivial junk from the author's messy life.
Exactly. They aren't figures of myth, they're elaborate anecdotes spun from mundanity. The ultimate demotion.
Is that the final twist?
Not quite. There's one more, reserved for Proctor, the narrator. He finds an old, expired Arkansas driver's license tucked in the notes as a bookmark.
Whose license?
The name is K. Brad Barfield. And the photo, it's Proctor's own face.
Whoa. He is the author. The narrator is K. Brad Barfield.
The snake eats its tail. His whole philosophical crisis about being trapped in a story he didn't write, it was literally true. And the central meta conceit of the entire project, he wrote himself into his own crisis.
Mind blown. How does he react? How do they react to that?
Instead of collapsing, it galvanizes them. Faulkner is incensed. "We're nothing but a first draft," he bellows. A sloppy one at that, but a story can be edited.
So the revelation empowers them.
Completely. He declares it's time to seize the means of narrative production. They're going from disgruntled characters to active editors.
How do they prove they have this power?
Immediately. They're back in the Model T, stuck in Fayetteville traffic. Impatient, Faulkner points at the car in front of them, a very sensible, law-abiding Toyota Prius.
And he tells Proctor.
Drive through it.
Drive through it.
Proctor floors it. And the Model T just phases through the Prius. No crash, no damage.
What happens to the Prius?
As the Model T passes through, the Prius dissolves. It breaks down into a cascade of glowing green letters like text being deleted from a screen.
A glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah.
They literally deleted part of the world.
They performed their first editorial revision. They proved the laws of physics, the rules of the narrative are now just suggestions to them. They have tangible authorial power.
They're free. Or
Yeah.
are they? Does the original author just let this happen?
No. The original Barfield consciousness, the one Proctor is now sort of merged with, but also separate from. Let's just call him the author. He doesn't take kindly to this insurrection.
Retaliation time.
Big time. The author's retaliation. He hits the cosmic pause button, drags the whole crew into the sterile, featureless white void, like a blank page.
Okay, that sounds ominous. What's the punishment?
It's cold, calculated, and aimed right at Faulkner's soul. The author conjures a drink for him, but it's not his beloved warm bourbon. Gin, described as the clear alcohol mean streak. Cold, sterile, cynical, precise. Everything Faulkner's warm, messy, creative spirit isn't. It's narrative punishment via beverage.
Does Faulkner drink it?
Hell no. The author then offers a bottle of Wild Turkey 101, maybe as a peace offering. Faulkner looks at it, looks at the author, and with a roar of defiance, "I will not drink your tidy little narrative," he smashes the bottle.
He smashes the peace offering. What happens then?
That act of ultimate defiance plunges them downward. They find themselves in a vast, subterranean rock cavern, standing on a tiny platform next to a rusty, grinding handcar to hell.
A handcar to hell, that's the new setting.
It seems so. A slow, grinding, miserable journey through narrative punishment, and the defining feature of this new punitive reality.
Let me guess. Something arbitrary and annoying.
The number 23. It starts appearing everywhere, on rocks, on signs, the number of drips from a stalactite, everywhere. The prime number of paranoia.
Why 23?
Just because it's known for driving people mad with perceived patterns. And it works, especially on Shelby Foote.
How does it affect the historian?
He goes nuts trying to find historical significance, starts trying to build a raft out of coincidences, muttering about how the X3 core was pivotal. He's desperately trying to impose historical order on pure, malicious randomness.
The poor guy. Trapped in numerical hell. How did they get out of this?
Salvation comes, as it often does in this book, via Waffle House.
They find a Waffle House in the cavern.
Not quite. They're ejected from the cavern and materialize inside a Waffle House. At 2 a.m., right into the middle of what the text calls a generational war.
War. Fought with.
Jelly packets, thrown hash browns, maybe some syrup-based ordnance, just two groups of exhausted late-night patrons having it out. Total chaos.
But our crew just appears in the middle of it.
Yep. But this time, Sunshine steps up. The torque physics demi-goddess.
What does she do? Use celestial powers.
Something much simpler and more effective. She walks over to the jukebox, unplugs whatever was playing, and puts on Bill Withers' Lean on Me.
Lean on me.
The sheer, undeniable decency and warmth of the song just works. The fighting stops. Everyone kind of looks at each other. Peace descends upon the Waffle House, achieved through soul music.
That's beautiful, actually. A moment of grace.
And who's sitting quietly in a corner booth, having observed this whole thing?
The
Stephen Hawking and the dude from The Big Lebowski.
Hawking and the dude are just hanging out at the Waffle House.
Apparently. And Hawking, via his communicator, explains the physics of their situation.
What's the explanation?
He tells them the author tried to delete them when Faulkner smashed the bottle. But fundamentally, information as their story, their essence cannot be destroyed. It's the information paradox from black hole physics applied to narrative.
So they survived deletion.
Yes. And in doing so, they achieved conservation of narrative. They can't be erased. They now exist independently. They are self-editing information with true narrative independence.
The author can't control them anymore.
He can interact, maybe influence, but not dictate. They're free agents within the narrative stream.
Wow. So where does that leave them? What's the final confrontation?
It leads to a surprisingly quiet, almost anticlimactic meeting. Coffee on the porch.
They find Barfield, the original author, consciousness.
They find him sitting on his front porch in El Dorado, Arkansas. He looks resigned, not angry. The text says it was less like a meeting and more like looking in a mirror after a very, very long night.
Does Faulkner finally get to deliver his complaints to the author's face?
Oh, he tries. He launches into one last rant about the pedestrian insult of the gas station chicken being a core motivator. He demands an explanation for the mediocrity underlying their supposedly sacred chaos.
And Barfield's response, the author's final word.
It's perfect, simple, profound. He just says, the point wasn't the chicken. The point was the story you told yourself about the chicken. That's the only magic there is.
Ah. So the meaning isn't in the thing itself, but in the narrative we create around it.
Exactly. The magic is subjective. It's the act of storytelling, even about gas station chicken, that gives life meaning.
So Proctor asked the final question. Is the book done? Are they free?
And Barfield confirms it. You achieved narrative independence. You're not just conserved, you're free.
The end.
Almost. Because narrative has to be conserved, right? It can't just stop. So there's one final jump. The archaeology of the absurd.
Where do they go now?
The 125th century. Aboard something called the Starship Holstein.
The Starship Holstein, like the cow.
Described as half spaceship, half barn, naturally, they land at a narrative dig site.
What are they digging for?
Their own story, specifically the Huffy bicycle. It's now considered a narrative fossil, a key artifact from the great absurdity period of ancient history. Future archaeologists view it as a ritualistic object of mundane despair.
They're excavating the Huffy. How does the crew react?
They take control of their own legacy. They stage a narrative hologram performance for the archaeologists, basically curating their own history.
So they tell their story the way they want it remembered.
Exactly. Faulkner narrates his encounter with the fart monster with deep spiritual gravity. Shelby Foote describes the Eudora catfish riot as a classic flanking maneuver of the highest caliber. They become the authors of their own historical interpretation.
That's fitting. And how does this holographic history lesson end?
It catches up to the present moment, showing Barfield merging with Proctor, joining the crew on the Starship Holstein. The lead archaeologist, watching this complex, looping narrative, looks up from the hologram, points to Proctor Barfield, who just walked in, and asks the final question.
Which is,
Where is he? Meaning, where is K. Brad Barfield in this hologram? He's right there, having joined the story he created.
the loop closes. The author is now fully integrated into the narrative he started, and they're all free to keep writing it. Wow.
The paradox resolves into freedom.
Okay, let's take a breath. That was a ride. So let's try to distill the core takeaway here for you, the listener. We slow walked this thing, moving from just insane absurdity, fart monsters, catfish fight,
It's like the lowbrow stuff.
yeah, to some really profound philosophical territory about being trapped, about meaninglessness, and finally about narrative independence. The key insight seems to be that the chaos wasn't just noise. It was actually the engine driving the whole search for meaning.
Absolutely. That 263-page cage isn't just about being trapped in a book. It's a really potent metaphor, isn't it, for any kind of limitation you might feel, political, social, maybe just the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you can do.
Yeah, those self-imposed boundaries.
Exactly. And the ultimate freedom, according to this narrative, isn't about escaping the cage or finding some perfect, elegant story. It's about realizing you have the power to edit the story you're in, to take the arbitrary things in your life, the equivalent of the rusty Huffy or the gas station chicken, and make them meaningful, make them magnificent, just by weaving your own narrative around them. It's about choosing to write a better, maybe messier, but definitely your second draft.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with, something to chew on. The story ends, essentially, with the characters and their author merging, breaking free from that initial 263-page limit by achieving narrative independence.
They seize the means of narrative production.
Right. So if characters in a fictional story can revolt against their predetermined plot, if they can learn to edit the laws of physics within their world, if they can literally drive through obstacles and demand a rewrite from their creator, what does that imply about our own reality? Does it suggest that maybe the only truly binding limitation on your life, on your reality, is the story you're currently willing to tell about yourself? What happens if you decide the rules are just suggestions? What happens when you decide to metaphorically drive right through your own Toyota Prius? Something to think about.